That strange tightness in your stomach that doesn't quite go away, even after you've eaten something light. Or that sudden wave of nausea you chalk up to getting older. Maybe your digestion just isn't what it used to be. But then it keeps happening quietly. A little heartburn here, a little bloating there, or just this nagging sense that something you're eating might not be sitting quite right anymore. It's easy to shrug it off. After all, you're eating healthy, right? Maybe even adding turmeric to your meals or taking it as a supplement because you heard it's good for inflammation, joints, or memory. And you're absolutely right. Turmeric can be a wonderful addition to your diet. It's been used for thousands of years, and modern science agrees it's packed with benefits. But here's where things can get tricky, because even something as healthy as turmeric can backfire if you mix it with the wrong foods. That's what we're going to talk about today. This conversation is all about protecting your health while still enjoying the benefits of turmeric safely and effectively. Especially if you're over 60, your body is more sensitive to certain combinations, and small tweaks in your daily habits can make a big difference in how you feel. This isn't about fear, it's about empowerment. When you know which foods don't play nicely with turmeric, you can avoid uncomfortable side effects, protect your digestion, and keep your body running smoothly. We'll be going over the 3 foods you should avoid eating with turmeric, why they cause problems, and what you can do instead. But more than that, we'll also talk about how your body processes turmeric at this stage of life, what signs to watch for if something's off, and how to get the most out of the good stuff without risking the bad. Let's start with the first food you should never mix with turmeric. And this one might surprise you: dairy. Especially milk. Now, I know for many of us, milk has been a lifelong staple. Maybe you enjoy a warm glass before bed, or still pour it over your cereal in the morning. It's comforting, familiar, and feels like something you've always been told is good for your bones. And when your joints ache, or your knees feel a little creaky, it's understandable to think, why not combine it with turmeric? I've heard of golden milk. Isn't that supposed to be healthy? Here's the catch. Milk, particularly cow's milk, contains a protein called casein. Casein is known to bind with the active compound in turmeric, curcumin, and that can actually block your body from absorbing it. So even though you're putting in the effort to take turmeric for your inflammation or joint health, if you're drinking it with milk, a lot of those benefits may be getting flushed right out of your system without being used. But it's not just about absorption. For some people, especially as we get older, digesting dairy becomes more difficult. You might not even realize your body is struggling with it because the signs can be subtle. Bloating, gassiness, a little nausea, or that general sense of sluggishness in your gut. When you add turmeric to the mix, it can actually amplify those symptoms. Not because turmeric is bad, but because your body is already under stress trying to handle the dairy. Let me tell you about Carol, a neighbor of mine who's 68 and has been dealing with arthritis in her hands. She started drinking turmeric milk every night, thinking it would ease her pain. But after a few weeks, she started waking up with more stomach cramps, and her digestion felt worse. She thought maybe she was doing something wrong or that turmeric wasn't for her. Once she stopped using milk and switched to warm water with a touch of coconut oil and black pepper, which actually helps with absorption, things changed. Her stomach calmed down, and her joints still got the support she was hoping for. Sometimes it's not about stopping the healthy habit, it's about tweaking how we do it. If you enjoy something like golden milk and want to keep it in your routine, there are simple swaps that work better. Unsweetened almond milk, oat milk, or coconut milk are great alternatives. Just make sure they're not loaded with added sugar. And when you add a pinch of black pepper to your turmeric, it boosts curcumin absorption by up to 2,000%. That's a small change with a big payoff. Now, moving on to the second food. This one is a bit sneakier because it hides in so many dishes and even in health foods: refined sugar. At first, you might not think sugar and turmeric have anything to do with each other. But the interaction between them can quietly work against your body's healing efforts. Refined sugar, the kind found in sweetened drinks, packaged snacks, pastries, even many yogurts, causes inflammation in the body. That's one of the very things turmeric is supposed to fight. So when you combine the two, it's like pressing the gas and the brakes at the same time. You're asking turmeric to reduce inflammation while sugar is turning it right back on. Here's where it matters even more for those of us in our 60s and beyond. Our bodies aren't as quick to regulate blood sugar, and insulin resistance can start creeping in without us noticing. When you pair turmeric with a sugary treat, say a sweetened turmeric latte or some store-bought turmeric cookies, not only does it blunt the anti-inflammatory effect, it can also lead to bigger swings in your energy, mood, and even your digestion. Think about a time when you tried one of those so-called healthy drinks from the cafe, one that sounded amazing, maybe a turmeric smoothie or latte. It tasted good, maybe even a little too good, but then you noticed an hour later you were bloated, or your stomach felt off, or your energy dipped. That's likely the sugar talking, not the turmeric. Let me give you an example. James, who's 72, started using turmeric powder every morning in his oatmeal. At first, he felt great, more limber, less stiffness in his shoulders. But after a while, that benefit faded. When we looked at his routine, we noticed he was also adding a big spoonful of brown sugar to the mix. Now, while brown sugar sounds better than white sugar, it still hits your system the same way. Once he swapped it for a few slices of banana and a sprinkle of cinnamon instead, the results came back. And they stuck. It doesn't mean you have to give up sweetness entirely. Natural sweeteners like stevia, monk fruit, or even small amounts of raw honey, especially when paired with fiber-rich foods, are gentler on your system. But ideally, try to keep your turmeric separate from sugary meals. Let it work in peace, without sugar constantly undoing its benefits. Now let's talk about the third food. And this one tends to catch a lot of people off guard because it's often considered healthy on its own. I'm talking about cruciferous vegetables, like broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, and Brussels sprouts, particularly when they're eaten raw or only lightly cooked. At first glance, it doesn't make much sense, right? These vegetables are known for their anti-cancer properties, fiber, and support for digestion. And that's all true. But here's where things get a little complicated. Cruciferous vegetables contain natural compounds called glucosinolates. When digested, these compounds break down into substances that can interfere with how your thyroid functions, especially if you already have a sluggish thyroid, something that becomes increasingly common as we age. Now combine that with turmeric. Turmeric, as helpful as it is, also slightly lowers thyroid activity in some people, especially in larger doses or when taken long-term. So if you're eating turmeric along with a big raw cabbage salad or broccoli smoothie every day, and you already struggle with low energy, feeling cold all the time, or unexpected weight gain, the combination might be quietly working against your thyroid health. Let me tell you about Min, a 66-year-old I spoke with not long ago. She was putting turmeric in everything. Soups, teas, even her salads. At the same time, she was trying to eat more vegetables, so she often snacked on raw broccoli and carrots. Over time, she started feeling sluggish and tired. Her hands were always cold, and she couldn't figure out why. Her doctor eventually noticed signs of low thyroid activity. Once she switched to gently steamed vegetables and spaced out her turmeric intake, her energy started to return. This doesn't mean you have to avoid these vegetables altogether. They're still valuable. But if you're eating turmeric regularly and you already have symptoms of low thyroid, it's a good idea to cook these veggies thoroughly. Steaming or roasting reduces the goitrogenic compounds that can interfere with your thyroid. It's a small adjustment that can protect your energy, your metabolism, and even your mood. And now that we've covered those three important food interactions, dairy, refined sugar, and cruciferous veggies, let's take a moment to understand why turmeric, despite being so beneficial, can become tricky if we don't pay attention to our body's signals. As we get older, digestion naturally slows down. Our stomachs produce less acid. Our livers may not detoxify as efficiently. And our gallbladders, if we still have them, might not release bile as effectively. That bile is crucial for breaking down fats, which includes helping your body absorb turmeric's active compound, curcumin, since it's fat-soluble. So when the system is a little sluggish, even good things like turmeric can sit in the stomach too long or pass through without being absorbed properly. It's completely understandable to feel a little confused by all of this. You hear turmeric is a superfood, so it feels like it should work no matter what. But many people find that the difference between benefit and discomfort lies in those little things: how it's taken, what it's combined with, and whether the body is prepared to use it well. So how can you actually get the most out of turmeric without running into these issues? One of the simplest things you can do is pair turmeric with healthy fat and black pepper. A teaspoon of coconut oil, olive oil, or even a few slices of avocado can make a big difference. The fat helps the curcumin get absorbed in your gut, while the piperine in black pepper dramatically increases how much your body actually uses. Think of it like a team. Turmeric is the star, but fat and black pepper are the support players that make sure it gets to where it needs to go. There's also the timing. Some people feel better taking turmeric with food rather than on an empty stomach. That way, it's less likely to irritate the gut or cause nausea, which can sometimes happen if you take a strong supplement without any buffer. A practical example? If you enjoy soup for dinner, stir a little turmeric into a vegetable or lentil soup. Drizzle a bit of olive oil on top, and grind in some fresh black pepper. You've just created a meal that's warm, comforting, and allows turmeric to work its magic in the way your body can actually use. And while we're here, if you've ever felt tempted to try a turmeric supplement, that's totally understandable. Supplements can be convenient, especially if you're not cooking much or just want something simple. But they're not all created equal. Some are poorly absorbed, and others may contain additives or fillers that cause stomach upset. If you do go the supplement route, look for one that says bioavailable or with piperine on the label, and always start with a low dose to see how your body responds. And listen, you're certainly not alone if you've felt unsure about what's causing your digestive issues or why your energy feels unpredictable. Many people over 60 are navigating these same questions, trying to support their bodies naturally without adding more medications, and hoping the things they hear about in the wellness world will actually help. The good news is that you're already doing the right thing by staying curious, paying attention, and wanting to learn. That matters. Small adjustments, done with care and consistency, are often far more powerful than sweeping changes. It's about giving your body the conditions it needs to thrive, not forcing it into something extreme. And the more you know about how turmeric interacts with other foods and your own body, the more empowered you are to make it truly work for you. So let's now take a deeper look at how you can actually listen to your body when it comes to turmeric. Because even with all the general advice in the world, your own experience, your energy levels, your digestion, your mood, that's what tells the real story. For example, have you ever noticed that after eating something with turmeric, maybe a golden milk tea or a curry dish, you feel a little more bloated or a bit queasy? It's subtle, but these little signs are often your body's way of saying, "This isn't quite working for me right now." And that's not a failure on your part. It's just information. Many people assume turmeric is always gentle, but it does have a stimulating effect on the digestive system. For some, especially those with sensitive stomachs or gallbladder issues, it can feel like a nudge too far. That's why it's important to introduce turmeric slowly if you're just starting out. Not because it's dangerous in small amounts, but because every body is different. A quarter teaspoon added to a meal once a day is often more than enough to begin with. And then, over the course of a week or two, you can gently increase as your system adjusts. It's not about rushing. It's about creating a supportive rhythm that feels sustainable. Now, let's talk about something a lot of people overlook: medications. If you're taking prescription medications, especially blood thinners like warfarin or aspirin, or drugs to manage blood sugar or blood pressure, turmeric can sometimes interact with them. That doesn't mean you have to give it up entirely, but it does mean you should talk to your doctor or pharmacist first. Bring it up casually at your next visit. Say, "Hey, I've been adding a little turmeric to my meals. Is that okay with what I'm taking?" You deserve clarity, and they're there to support you in making safe, informed choices. Here's something else I hear often. "I want to eat healthier, but I don't have the energy to cook much anymore." And that's totally valid. Energy dips are real, especially as we deal with things like joint pain, poor sleep, or just the natural slowing down that comes with age. That's why I encourage you to simplify. You don't have to prepare complicated turmeric recipes to get the benefits. You can keep it simple and nourishing. One great example is turmeric tea. Just warm a cup of almond or oat milk. Stir in a pinch of turmeric, a dash of black pepper, and maybe a little honey or cinnamon if you like. It's cozy, calming, and takes less than 5 minutes. Or if you're making scrambled eggs or a rice dish, just sprinkle a little turmeric in as you cook. No fuss, no extra steps. And speaking of ease, one trick that many people over 60 find helpful is batch mixing a turmeric spice blend. You can mix turmeric with ground ginger, cinnamon, and black pepper, then store it in a small jar. That way, anytime you're cooking or brewing a tea, you just use a spoonful of the mix, saving time and keeping the flavors balanced. But beyond all of this, there's something even more important to think about. And that's the why behind all of this. Why are you taking turmeric in the first place? For most people I talk to, it's not just about reducing inflammation or preventing disease. It's about wanting to feel better, to wake up with less stiffness in your knees, to walk a little farther without aching, to feel a bit more alert, a bit more at ease in your body. That's the real goal, isn't it? Not perfection, not chasing trends, just feeling good in your own skin. So it helps to tune in to how your body responds over time. Keep a little note somewhere, even just a piece of paper on the fridge. Write down what you eat that day and how you feel afterward. You might start to notice that turmeric makes your joints feel better when you have it with lunch, but not if you drink it late at night. Or that your digestion is calmer when you take it with food rather than on its own. These insights are golden, and they're entirely your own. Now, let's return for a moment to something I hear often. I just want something that works. And yes, turmeric can work. But it works best when it's part of a bigger picture, when your meals are balanced, when your digestion is supported, and when you're getting enough water, rest, and gentle movement. You don't have to do it all at once. Start with one thing, one change that feels doable. Maybe that means switching from a turmeric supplement to using it in food so your body can absorb it more gently. Maybe it means steaming your cruciferous vegetables instead of eating them raw. Maybe it's as simple as setting out your turmeric blend next to the kettle, so you remember to make that warm cup of tea in the morning. All of these are small, practical choices that add up over time. And when they're done with self-respect and kindness, not pressure, they become part of your life, not another chore. One woman, Lan, told me she started putting turmeric in her congee once a week. That was it. Nothing fancy. But after a few weeks, she noticed her morning stiffness eased up a little. That small moment gave her the confidence to add turmeric tea to her evening routine. And from there, she found the momentum to walk a bit more each day. That's how change happens. Gently, personally, and with grace. There's no single right way to use turmeric. But there is a right way for you. And that comes from learning, experimenting, and staying connected to how your body responds. And as you continue learning and paying attention, something beautiful happens. You start to feel more in tune with yourself. You start to trust your own wisdom again. Not the noise of advertisements or trends, but your inner compass. That's something no supplement label or health headline can give you. It grows from real experience, the kind that comes with living life fully and paying attention to what helps you feel good. Day by day. Now, there's one last food we need to talk about. And it's something many of us enjoy, often without thinking much about how it might interact with other things we're eating. I'm talking about dairy. Yes, milk, cheese, yogurt, even that splash of cream in your morning coffee. These foods are comforting, familiar, and for many people, They've been a staple for decades. But here's the thing. Turmeric and dairy don't always get along. At least, not when it comes to absorption. You see, turmeric contains curcumin, that powerful anti-inflammatory compound we've been talking about. But curcumin is notoriously tricky for the body to absorb. That's why we always hear about pairing it with black pepper. Because piperine, the active compound in pepper, boosts curcumin absorption by up to 2,000%. However, when turmeric is combined with large amounts of dairy, especially milk proteins like casein, it can actually block some of that absorption process. The curcumin may bind to those proteins and pass through your system without giving you much of its benefit. It's like brewing a pot of tea and then throwing half of it away before you take a sip. That doesn't mean you have to give up dairy altogether. Not at all. But it does mean that if you're trying to get the most out of your turmeric, especially if you're using it for joint pain or inflammation, it's worth being mindful of when and how you pair it with dairy. For example, if you're making golden milk, you might try using a plant-based milk like almond, oat, or coconut instead of cow's milk. These alternatives don't contain casein and won't interfere in the same way. One gentleman I know, his name's Min, told me that after learning this, he swapped the regular milk in his turmeric tea for unsweetened oat milk. He didn't expect much to change, honestly. But after a few weeks, he realized his knees weren't as stiff when he got out of bed in the morning. He could climb the stairs without bracing himself. It wasn't dramatic, but it was steady. And it felt like something was finally starting to shift. And isn't that what we all hope for at this stage in life? Not necessarily big leaps, but small wins that make everyday life just a little bit easier. Walking a bit more comfortably, sleeping a bit more soundly, feeling a bit more energized to call a friend or get outside. Those things matter deeply. I want to remind you too that none of this is about blame. If you've been using turmeric with dairy for years, there's no need to feel bad. You were doing your best with the information you had. And now that you know more, you're better equipped to make choices that support your body more fully. That's growth. That's wisdom. And I know how hard it can be to make changes, especially when habits are tied to comfort, tradition, or even culture. Maybe a warm glass of milk before bed is part of your nightly routine. That's okay. You don't have to give that up entirely. But perhaps you can separate it from your turmeric intake. Have your milk earlier and your turmeric in a different meal, or with a plant-based alternative. These are gentle shifts, not total overhauls. And let's not forget the emotional side of things. When we start making new choices for our health, it's easy to feel uncertain or even a bit overwhelmed. You might be thinking, is it really worth it to make these small changes? I want you to know, yes, it is. Every step you take toward feeling better is worthwhile. And you don't have to do it all at once. Just start with what feels manageable today. Maybe you begin by switching from raw broccoli to lightly steamed. Or maybe you try having turmeric tea an hour apart from your dairy intake. Or maybe you simply pause for a moment before eating and ask yourself, how does this feel in my body? That awareness, that quiet moment of reflection, it's powerful. And I hope you'll also consider sharing your experiences. In the comments below, let me and others know. Have you tried turmeric before? What worked for you? What didn't? Do you have a go-to way of using it in your meals? This space is here for you, and your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to take their next step. If this conversation felt helpful to you, if you learned something new or just felt encouraged, please consider liking the video. It helps others find this content. And it lets me know that these kinds of honest, respectful, and supportive conversations matter to you. And if you'd like more content like this, geared toward living well, wisely, and with joy after 60, go ahead and subscribe. I'd love to continue this journey with you. Most of all, I want you to walk away from this with a sense of hope. Because it's never too late to feel better. It's never too late to learn something new about your body. And it's never too late to make a change, even a small one, that adds more ease, more comfort, and more vitality to your days. So take a breath, Be kind to yourself and carry this knowledge forward with confidence. You've earned it. You deserve it. And you're absolutely not alone on this path. Until next time, take care of yourself, gently, wisely, and with love. And